Are you ready to stop shrinking to fit into someone else's version of success? Welcome to Illuminate Your Worth, the podcast that helps you remember who you are and reclaim your life. Hosted by transformation facilitator Heather Stewart, this is your space for soulful conversations, coaching insights, and reminders that you're not here to settle. You're here to shine. Now let's dive in.
Hello, my friends. I'm so excited you're here. If you're watching live and you're watching the video, I love the way Zoom does all these automatic gestures now. It's like, I can send hearts out into the world. Yay. Because why? Well, I'm Heather, and that's part of what I do in the world. But also, this show is called Illuminate Your Worth. Thank you for coming, by the way. I know you've probably got a lot to do. So even if you're listening not live and you're listening later, I still am going to send you some love, my friend. We are on the Inspired Choices Network. So there's lots of inspiration on this network. You should come over and check it out, inspiredchoicesnetwork.com, and check out all the other fabulous humans over here. We are out to make the world a better place. I feel like I should be on the Miss Universe pageant when I say stuff like that, but I believe it. And by the way, did you know you can come over to the chat room and talk to me? It's super easy. And then you can actually say, hey, Heather, what did you mean when you said this? So today we're talking about It's Time to Love You, which is why I thought it was awesome to send you some hearts. Here's some more. There they go. And it's so interesting to me that it shows up in so many ways. The way that we speak to ourselves, the way we react to things. And I was contemplating this just before I came on about where everybody talks about self-love isn't selfish, and it's such a buzzword now, self-love, self-love, self-love. And people think, oh, I'm going to go for a spa day. But it's actually not that kind of thing. It is more about the day-to-day interactions you have with yourself. It's more about the choices that you make for yourself. And they can be kind of sneaky. And this is not to call you out. This is not to say, hey, you're not doing that right. Because one of the things I was thinking about is there's as many ways to have your self-worth and self-love hijacked as there are humans on the planet. There's lots of similarities. We have, as humans, we are wired for connection. And I listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks, and I'm on this constant journey, which is super interesting for me. I'm going to tell you someday about human design and all of the things that I'm learning about it, because holy moly, that is a powerful tool to help people. And what is telling me is, oh, by the way, Heather, you're wired for constant learning. I'm like, no, really? So I'm listening to all these books and podcasts and things, and everybody talks about how influenced you are by the things that you see and integrate as you're growing up. And often we're integrating things without the context of the bigger picture, without maybe a wisdom or a deeper understanding. So I think about, I'm the oldest of 4 children, and all 4 of us are similar. I'm going to say that we're similar, but we're very different. And it has to do a little bit with personality, but also, the experiences that we had were filtered through our own lenses. So even if we were in the exact same experience, we would have interpreted it differently and incorporated it differently. And that's why when I talk about why maybe you could love yourself more than you do, that it's been influenced by your learnings, which are yours and yours alone. They're your unique place to look to express yourself. They're your unique place to experience yourself. And so that's why I'm saying, don't compare yourself to other people, and give yourself some grace that you were doing the best you could with what you had, right? So this is my little love note for you. And when we are kids, we do need that. We are wired for that connection. We are wired we're wired for survival. How will I survive? I need these people to feed me and clean me and look after me until I can do it myself. So how you interpret what's going on around you is how you start, is what you use to start to navigate, making sure that you're taken care of, right? If you think about this, and I'm not saying that people are dogs, but think about dogs. So I live across the road from a dog park, and there's a person who I've observed who the dog barks and she says, stop barking. And then she gives them a treat. So there, that dog's understanding is, well, if I bark, she'll give me a treat. So of course the dog's going to keep barking. Right? It's like, oh my goodness. So she thinks she's training it not to bark, but she's training it to bark. And when we're little kids and we're learning how to make sure we get fed, we're like, oh, if I cry, they'll come into the room and feed me. Or maybe if I cry, they don't. Or, you start to like learn these lessons of how to get what you need. And as we get older, sometimes we forget that those are old programs. Imagine if you were still running a Commodore 64. Who remembers Commodore 64? Imagine if you're trying to run some of these things we have using Commodore 6, right, Danielle? Oh my goodness, I can remember that. That's so funny. That was a while ago, wasn't it? I can still remember the way the keys felt. Imagine if you were running the software from a Commodore 64 in your brain, but you were trying to run it in what year is this? 2025. Wow. It wouldn't work very well, would it? That's kind of what we do as adults, unless we have done some work, done some inner work, some self-reflection, some stepping in and questioning our behaviors, and not in a judgy way. I always want to say to people that you don't need to be hard on yourself about where you are. That doesn't serve any purpose, right? And that's also a learned thing. That is learning that think about school. Judging. School is judging. Did I pass or did I fail? Am I a good person? Am I a bad person? Did I get good grades? Did I not get grades? That's all learned. You can unlearn those things. So when you're looking at yourself, don't use that old programming of am I good or not? And when we get up into grown-upness, um, we become these autonomous beings. We can think for ourselves. We can make decisions. We can own the stories that we tell ourselves, because your whole life is a story that you've been telling yourself. I am this, I am this, I am this. I even hear myself saying it. I say, oh, I'm a delicate flower. I'm not really, but I'll tell people that I'm a delicate flower. At some point, your subconscious might believe you. I say things like, so a lot of people think I'm a blonde when they've only ever met me on Zoom. And I'm a ginger. I know me, a delicate flower. My husband calls me a badass. I was like, me, a badass? I'm not a badass. But I'm a ginger. And people say, you're what? I'm like, yeah, no. And so I've lived my life as, no, I'm a redhead, damn it. And you can't change me into a blonde just because my hair is going white. The external validation is what causes us to continually look for our getting our needs met outside of us. So we're looking outside of ourselves to get our needs met. And I mean, we did learn that. We all learned that because when you're born, you can't get it from anywhere else. You need someone outside of you to meet your needs. But when we become these grown-ups, when we I loved this word actually. This word made me crazy for a little while. Adulting. What do you mean adulting? I left home at 18 and now you're not adulting until you're in your 30s. It just blows my mind, but that's a whole other topic. But when we're adulting, I've adopted that word now. When we're adulting, we have the power to decide what still works for us and what doesn't. We don't need someone outside of us to feed us anymore, for the most part. We don't need someone outside of us to tell us whether we're right or wrong. We don't need someone outside of us even to give us the love that we need, although that's where we often look. We still look to the outside because that's how we were conditioned. We still need companionship. We still need connection because we are humans. We are social animals. We still need that. But the first place you should get it is inside of you. Back in my old podcast, if anybody came over from the Back to Me podcast, yahoo, hooray, so good to see you. The Back to Me podcast did 4 seasons of me talking to amazing humans. And I talked to a psychologist one day, and her comment was so interesting. She was saying that when we're searching for partners, we're searching for this partner that's going to fulfill this internal need that we have. But they can't actually do it. They can't actually give us 100% of what we need because they're searching in you for what they need and they don't know exactly what you need. They're trying to figure it out. Some of them are better than others. They're trying very hard, potentially, depending on who you're with. They're trying to fill this need for you, but they don't actually know what you need. Only you know what you need. So the self-love will satisfy that. And then you have more capacity to have partners who are the cherry on top. They add the extra love, the extra companionship, the extra connection. But the primary need that you have is met by you. And if you think about people, and you probably know people who you can tell, you may not have put it in these words, that they don't like themselves very much. They do things to themselves, or they act in certain ways that that they know in their logical mind that it's not the best for them. And I'm not saying you have to be an angel. It's like if think of all the things we judge people for. Like, I'm still surprised people smoke. It's like, that's bad for you, right? And am I going to turn around and go, you don't love yourself because you smoke? Well, there may be some degree of that, but there's a whole lot of other layers in there. And only the person inside knows the truth of you. Only that person inside knows the truth of you. And if you think about that person inside, do you let that person inside speak their truth? Or do you hide from it? Do you hide from that person? And if you're not enough, if you're never enough, that is a way that the lack of self-love expresses itself, because you are enough, right? You're always enough. You're always, always, always enough. That doesn't mean that you don't want to, look at me, personal development queen. That doesn't mean you want to stay where you are, but you're always enough. And if that push, I'm going on the anti-hustle culture. I am anti-hustle, friends. The hustle culture has pushed us to constantly feel like we're not enough, and I am not down with that. I am starting a campaign against the hustle. Maybe that's what I'll talk about sometime coming up. soon in the future. But I am against that because that program that we have of pushing, it's never enough. It's never enough. Faster, faster, faster. Work until your eyeballs bleed. How is that expressing that you're already enough and that you're good enough and that you are worthy to be loved? How does that express that? It's like you're always trying. Who are you hustling for? Like maybe I'm self-employed. I guess you could say, well, you're hustling for you. I'm like, no, I'm not hustling for me. Because if I hustle for me, I'm going to crash and burn. That's not a sustainable way of living. If you have a job, who are you hustling for? To impress your bosses? To impress some unseen force that you just feel the pressure from? You know, nobody ever said to go out and kill yourself working. Live long and prosper. Spock just popped into my head. I can do the Spock salute thing. Um, but this external validation isn't going to serve you. And so we end up choosing partners that reflect back to us how we don't value ourselves, especially if it's a dysfunctional partnership. We end up people pleasing. We're always trying to make the people outside of us happy. We end up over giving, forgetting how to say no. I had coffee with a friend this week. I was trying to remember what day it was. I had coffee with a friend this week, and I just said to her, why are you doing that to yourself? And she started to reflect on it, and there's layers. I mean, it's never as easy as one quick answer. There's layers to everything. We are layers, friends. But you know, it's that looking for where's your worth. Your worth is not on the outside. Your worth is on the inside. So when we come back, I'm going to have a chat. We're going to talk some more about this. I have more ideas, more thoughts, more ideas. They're constantly flowing. Sometimes I can't stop them. My mouth doesn't move fast enough for them to come out. But when we come back from the break, we're going to talk some more on the myth of that person who's going to complete you. Let's talk Hollywood, and how some ways to find some ways around this and get this to work for you, right? To get you to start to shift. It's not an overnight thing. We're just going to slowly start the slide into the love zone. So I am Heather. This is Illuminate Your Worth. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned. We're going to come right back after this break.
What if your too much was actually your superpower? On Illuminate Your Worth, Heather Stewart guides you back to your truth with coaching, mindset shifts, and powerful conversations designed to light up every corner of your life, from career and creativity to wellness and worth. Tune in weekly and discover how to stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms. Listen to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart on the Inspired Choices Network and wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You're listening to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart. Want to connect live during the show? Join the studio audience in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send questions or coaching requests to info@heatherstewart.coach. Let's get back to today's episode and your path to a thriving life.
Thriving. Yeah, you know what? If you love yourself, you're going to thrive no matter what your situation is. So if you're watching the video, I like to mess around in the break with these Zoom things. They're just so cool. Like if I do this one, look at this. Is it going to do it? Who wants fireworks? I want fireworks. So my fireworks that's my inner love coming out. That's my aura, is my fireworks around me. We are talking about self-love, and we're talking about how it comes from when you're a kid, like your experiences. We can go into that whole land of, I don't know, where it's in your DNA. Perhaps you've been pre-programmed. Your soul came to experience something, and maybe you said, hey, I'm going to experience really figuring out how to be in a bad place and find good. I'm going to experience this. I'm going to get, we can talk about all of that. And it's so interesting. I am listening to a book right now. She was talking about DNA. She used to be a lawyer in New York, and it had never occurred to me before. So we know that when you're in the womb, you are experiencing the emotions of your mother. Like it's just science. Like you're inside your mom, you're growing. If she's upset, you're going to feel those hormones because you're attached to her. Oops, sorry, microphone. You're attached to her. But what had never occurred to me was when you're in the womb, if you're a woman, your ovaries are apparently they develop, and you have all of the eggs that you're going to have as an adult kind of formed within the first few weeks. So not only are you experiencing your mother's emotions, but so are, if you have kids, your future babies are experiencing those emotions. I was like, whoa. So that means that your experiences while you're in the womb can start with like your grandma and going like all those layers. And I know I'm going a bit off topic, but I thought it was fascinating that we have influences on us when we're not even a thought form yet, right? We have had influences on us when we're not even a thought form. So the majority, yes, I like to say the majority of what's going on probably is your experiences to the age of like, well, they say to the age of 7, but then there's this whole thing that happens called high school, which also has a lot of influence on you. So it's like there's a whole range of things that happen to you when you're growing up. And your view of the world, maybe it is influenced by grandma and how stressed she was, and maybe she was in the war, and maybe her grandma, like just think about all these cascades of experiences that come through the DNA line, like your actual physical cell structure. And we're talking about, I talked about how when you're searching for a partner, if that's what you choose to do, you will likely choose someone that you're trying to find someone who fits something for you. But they can only love you. And I'm not saying that these relationships are dysfunctional. I mean, my husband is amazing, but he can only love me the way that he knows how to love. So that might not be what I need, right? I might need it in another way. And we're all so unique that what our needs, yes, we need food. What did Ram Dass? I listened to Ram Dass the other day. The only real human needs are food, shelter, and companionship. Humans need food, shelter, and companionship. And then when you add more on that, just adds more complexity. I guess, he's got a point. But I think that what you need besides food and shelter and companionship is companionship with yourself. I had a friend when I lived on the East Coast who was a serial dater. And I thought he was great. We hung out, we had fun. We didn't date, we were just friends. And one day I just asked him, why do you keep dating women? Why don't you, all these different women? Why don't you just like spend some time alone? And he said very seriously, I don't like myself. I don't want to spend any time alone with myself. And I was not in the self-help world at that time. I was a CPA. Like, what did I know about self-help? I didn't even take yoga then. Um, I was not in this world yet. And I just, even then, I thought, what a terrible way to live, that you don't like spending time with yourself. And I thought it was so sad because I thought he was great. I thought he was, a nice gentleman and fun guy to hang out with. But he, I, I've lost touch with him because I've been gone for a long time. But I just hope that he found his way someday, because I know from experience that if you can find this way to put value on yourself, at least as much as you start with this, at least with as much value as you put on other people, then you'll be so much happier. You'll just be so much happier. So self-love is not bubble baths. It's more like radically accepting you the way you are. And I say radical because even me, I was I was getting changed in front of a mirror the other day and I went, "Holy crap." Because I was like, "Where did that come from?" Um, you judge yourself, you judge your behaviors, you judge your appearance, and I caught myself and I thought, "What are you talking about, Heather? You look fabulous." And then one side of you is like, "But no, you look fabulous. I told you you look fabulous." So you might think I'm crazy, but I do have these conversations with myself. And when you know your needs, you know how to fulfill them. When you love yourself, you know what you need. So when you know what your needs are, you know how to get them met. So you start to know how to set a boundary, perhaps, how to say no without being an asshole and not feeling bad about saying no. We're so weird that we'll feel bad if we say no because it doesn't suit us. It's not for us. It's like, um, my husband loves going to live music. I like live music, but I have no problem saying, no, I'm not going to that if I'm tired or if I don't want to go to that person. And I'm not going to feel bad about that. And he's not going to get upset about it. He's going to say, okay, no problem. And he'll go without me. And I'm down with that. Um, and even when it's hard, I want you to start to choose for yourself. And the more you choose for yourself what's right for you, the more, that's not the right word, the stronger you will become. Your choice muscle, you got to exercise it like a muscle, your choice muscle. So choosing you. And when you find that you see old patterns, old things showing up, it's kind of like you have to parent yourself. Who is the parent that would have been the good parent for that? So, like if you make a mistake, did you have a parent who gave you a really hard time, or even a boss? Mm. Even a boss. I've just had some flashbacks to some bosses. Um, Instead of experiencing that, I'll call it a small T trauma, instead of experiencing that thing that didn't serve you or help you improve, and replaying that, like if you make a mistake and someone gives you a really hard time and makes you feel like an idiot, instead parent yourself a little bit, boss yourself a little bit, be your own advocate and talk to yourself. Say, wow, that didn't really work. So let's talk about why it didn't work. Were you trying your best? Okay, that's good. Okay, that's good. And if you had the information you have now, would you have done something different? Okay, that's good. Like having these conversations and breaking it down. I have a client who has a She has a physical list where she writes down things I will not do as a grandma because she's experiencing some things from her mother that are challenging her, and she wants to make sure she doesn't do those to her own kids. So she actually writes them down so she won't forget things I won't do, which I think is brilliant. So here's something to think about because we're going to go on to another break. Wow, the breaks are coming so fast. How is this happening? The breaks are coming so fast. So this is what I want you to think about while we're on our quick break. What would it look like if you loved yourself like someone that you really care about? So even a pet, like if you don't have someone in your life that you are super in love with or really care about deeply, think about someone or something, because I think about cats and dogs and fluffy bunnies and whatnot, a pet. Think about how much do you love that person? How much do you work to, for that relationship? And what would it look like if you took that same amount of effort and love and took it inside for yourself? Contemplate that one. So when we come back, we're going to, we're going to keep talking about this thing. I have some suggestions for you, some practices, and we're going to talk some more about self-love. So you're going to think about how much can you love you, and we'll see you right after the break.
What if your too much was actually your superpower? On Illuminate Your Worth, Heather Stewart guides you back to your truth with coaching, mindset shifts, and powerful conversations designed to light up every corner of your life, from career and creativity to wellness and worth. Tune in weekly and discover how to stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms. Listen to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart on the Inspired Choices Network and wherever you get your podcasts.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
You're listening to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart. Want to connect live during the show? Join the studio audience in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send questions or coaching requests to info@heatherstewart.coach. Let's get back to today's episode and your path to a thriving life.
It's always a path. It's never a destination. It's always a path. I am Heather. Hello. Thank you for staying. Wow. Look, if you're still here, first of all, you're a rock star. Did you see the little rock star thing that I did right there on Zoom? Come on, Zoom. You can do it. There you go. I love it. And we are talking about self-love, and we are on the Inspired Choices Network. Oh, and if you have stayed this long, how hard would it be just to pop over and give us a little 5-star review? That would be pretty freaking amazing. And I would love you as much as I love me, if you can imagine. And the more people who can hear these messages, I think the more the world will start to shift. So the world is a really weird place right now. I was watching a show about the French Revolution yesterday. I was actually watching a show on art history, but it was tying into the art of the time during the French Revolution and what was going on. And there's some really weird kind of parallels that I won't go into because we're talking about self-love. But if you have YouTube, check out the show Perspectives with, I won't say his name correctly because it's Polish, Vladimir, Vladimir, just look up Perspectives Art History. He's very entertaining and he has a lot of good information. But the world is a strange place. And I feel like there's a lot of people who have that constant search for something. Everybody's searching, but they're looking in the wrong place. Because if people could take that bit of time to have an inner view of their world, an inner reflection. I mean, I've been meditating now for probably over 25 years. In the beginning, no, it wasn't every day. Come on, I'll be honest, because it was new. It takes a while to incorporate things into your life. But at this point in my life, and for the past long time, it is every day. And the best way to get to know yourself is to sit down and get to know yourself. There's no rules in meditation, by the way. It doesn't have to be done any specific way. It's more about sitting down and getting to know yourself. And we're talking about radical self-acceptance because with radical self-acceptance, we can radically shift the world. People who love themselves don't do the things that harm other people, in my opinion. And if you choose yourself again and again, even if it's kind of hard, like even if saying no is hard for you, but you choose to do something that's good for you, the more you do that, the more you will fill yourself up. And if you can fill yourself up, you have the overflow to help other people. So if you aren't sure, you're like, am I really ready to love myself? I don't know. Well, you've heard, are you tired of shrinking? It's like my theme song. Are you tired of shrinking to fit in? I got tired of shrinking to fit in, I'm going to say about 20 years ago or more. But you can see my path started when I was born. Or you could argue back even further than that. But my awareness of shifting myself started probably 25 years ago when I started into this land of meditation and introspection and finding a new way to be in the world. And there's a lot of bumps on the road along the way. But each bump was like, oh, wow, that was interesting. How can I use this information and make myself even better? So are you tired of performing? Are you tired of fixing yourself for someone else? Stop fixing yourself for someone else. Stop. Fix yourself for yourself. You know, the book that I was listening to with the lady who was talking about the DNA in the ovaries and the experiences, she spent forever trying to prove to herself somehow that body positive and working out, and she was overweight in her mind, and she was out there trying to not be overweight because that's what you're supposed to do. And then one day she said, no, that's not working for me. And I think she's still, it's all relative. We went from the Marilyn Monroe who was not a Twiggy to a Twiggy, and we our evaluation of what is healthy shifts with time. So don't fit into the latest trends if they don't suit you. If you're thin, be thin. If you're not, don't be. If you're craving more peace of mind than approval, I think that's a good sign. If you're like, I just want to, my father-in-law who passed away a number of years ago, his favorite thing to say was, I don't want any hassles. I don't want any hassles. And if you're going around going, I just don't want any hassles, well, you're looking for peace of mind, right? You're looking for releasing this need to perform. You're not a performing seal. You're not in a circus. Well, we are kind of in a circus in some ways, but you don't have to be a performer in the circus. You can choose not to join the circus and run away with the circus. And if you're in a transition in your life right now, if you're in this realization, we're always transitioning, but if you feel like there's a major shift coming, and let's be serious, It's almost September. I'm looking at the calendar. Next week is September. Mind is blowing. What do you mean it's September? So for me, September always feels like New Year's. It's like, okay, it's a new season is starting. I started spring cleaning, but it is my fall, like my fall getting ready for something. It always feels like something new in the fall. And maybe that's because we've been conditioned that way, like it's the back to school time. Yay, a new season is starting. So if you feel like it's time to shift something, this is a really good time. If you feel like that you're done with being somebody else's slave or not celebrating yourself or trying to please everybody but yourself. Martyrdom is not sexy, by the way. People think it's somehow amazing and awesome, and all martyrs do. I said this, I can't remember if it was on the Back to Me podcast or on here, but all martyrs do is they work themselves and work themselves and work themselves, and then they're dead. Right? How does that help you serve the purpose that you're here to serve on the planet? How does that help you raise the vibration of the planet? How does that help you fulfill your destiny? Unless your destiny was to be a martyr, but I can't. I can't see that. Sorry, I just don't see that. So celebrate that you are always enough. Wouldn't that be a much more fun thing to do? And when you do this, when you start setting those boundaries, when you start doing things to serve you, it's going to change you slowly. You will slowly change to this person who, it's almost like you become more solid. You become more, your energy is more grounded. You are fully aware of everyone around you and their needs. And you have the capacity to choose to help people because you know that your needs are met. So when you are safe and secure and complete in yourself, then you can act from that place of safety and security. Many of the actions these days in the world are not taken from a place of that person feeling safe and secure. They're acting out of a fear of, they might not even have an identity. They may not have even been able to identify what that fear is. But so many actions are fear-based, and it's a fear of personal safety because something outside of them is challenging them. But if what they needed was inside of them already, and it is, they just haven't found it yet. They stuck it away in a trunk in the back of a closet in the basement under a pile of boxes. So you got to go do your internal spring cleaning. If everyone on the planet was so solid in their self-worth, it would be a very different place. There would be no acting out of fear. There would be no acting probably out of lack or scarcity either, because you have what you need and you are complete. And then we have our food, shelter, and companionship, and that's all we need on top of that. So says Ram Dass. By the way, if you've never listened to Ram Dass, go and have a listen to him. He was a wise old fella. Well, he was young when he went off to India, but he became a wise old fella. So think about that vibration of feeling complete, even if you just have to make it up. Even if it's just an imagination, an imagining. Think about what that would feel like as I am, and you've probably met these people. There are a few in the world. And when you meet them, their energy is very different. But the first time I met Krishna Das, he was friends with Ram Dass, by the way. The first time I met Krishna Das, I was at Kripalu, which is a retreat center in the northwest. You know how Massachusetts is kind of square? It's in the northwest corner. And I was standing in line to get my book signed by him. And I went up to him and he looked at me and I almost fell on the floor. This was the first time this happened to me because he looked at me. It wasn't intense, but it was like I could see that he was so complete in himself that he could fully see me. And I had never experienced that before in my life. I still have chills in my legs going on right now. And I just went, it's like, oh my God, he can see me. Because most of us are so involved in whatever else stories going on in our head that we aren't present. He was so present. Oh my goodness. And I was speechless. I didn't even know what to say. I just kind of handed him my book and asked for an autograph. But he is this being that you can just feel his energy, even the Dalai Lama. I mean, I also saw the Dalai Lama a number of years ago and in India. And yeah, that man's presence has a different feeling. So when that person understands their self-worth, they put that vibration out and you can feel that difference. So imagine that feeling, because we're going to go on another break. Or, you know, we got to do these things, friends. You know, besides, I need to take a drink of tea. So when we come back, I'm going to give you some contemplations and something just to practice that will help you start your road if you're not already on it. So come back. And this is Illuminate Your Worth. Yes, it is. And we're on the Inspired Choices Network. I'm Heather, and we'll see you in a minute.
What if your too much was actually your superpower? On Illuminate Your Worth, Heather Stewart guides you back to your truth with coaching, mindset shifts, and powerful conversations designed to light up every corner of your life, from career and creativity to wellness and worth. Tune in weekly and discover how to stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms. Listen to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart on the Inspired Choices Network and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart. Want to connect live during the show? Join the studio audience in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send questions or coaching requests to info@heatherstewart.coach. Let's get back to today's episode and your path to a thriving life.
Damn it, I was muted. I forgot. It's okay. So when I teach my yoga class, I teach online yoga and Tai Chi, and um, I'll start talking, and they'll say, "Heather, turn on the recording." And I was like, "Shoot, what if I said something really smart and it didn't get in the recording?" So it's okay. I can remember what I was talking about. I was talking about why you should want to illuminate your worth. Have I convinced you yet that it is important? It's not only in your best interest, it's in the planet's best interest for you to love yourself. It's in if the planet's too big, your country, your province, I'm in Canada, your city, your community, your family, your relationships, everything would improve if you loved yourself more. Yes, my friends, it's a real deal. So sometimes I can think of one day I went to the doctor. I had started to run. I was in my 30s. Yes, I was in my 30s. I decided, oh, I was living in Toronto. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of runners here. I should pick up running. That's probably good for you. And I was getting shin splints. So I was having a checkup and I said to my doctor, I'm having shin splints. And she looked at me, she said, lose weight. I was like, what do you think I'm trying to do? So it's just like, how is that helpful? That's not a helpful piece of information. So me saying, go love yourself isn't necessarily going to help you if you don't know how to go about it. Because at that time, I had no idea about nutrition. I didn't know how to lose weight. It's like, what do? Just go find the latest diet fad? So when I'm asking you to love yourself, I'm going to actually help you find a way. So I want you to think of self-care, whatever that is for you, bubble baths or something. Think of it as something you're committed to. You're committed to take care of yourself. It's not a reward. Doing self-care isn't a reward for working really hard. I want you to, I would love for you to speak kindly to yourself. So remember when I saw myself in the mirror and went, holy crap, and the cycling started of that doesn't look right and I don't like that. I caught myself and I started to have the conversation with myself of, no, I am enough right now. Yes, maybe I would like to look a little bit different, but is that going to really change my life that much? And why do I feel like, is that because someone outside of me is telling me I need to look a certain way? Or is that because I feel like I need to do that for myself? So start to have those conversations with yourself and acknowledge that that voice will still come up even, 25 years later, but you can have a conversation with it. You don't have to listen to it. You can tell it to sit in the back seat and be quiet. If things go sideways, be nice to yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time. You are working with what you have, and you are enough right now. And one exercise that I do every single day, and I got this from an author, her name's Sarah McCrum, and there was this suggestion in her book, and I said, I'll try that. So I have a little notebook, and every morning she says to write down something that you value about yourself. Mine shifted into what I love about myself. So every day I write down one thing that I love about myself. Well, first I read all the ones that I've written, then I write a new thing. I've been doing this, I wrote down the date since the 2nd of April. I have pages of things, and some of them are silly. Like one day I wrote, I love my weirdness. One day I wrote, I love my fear. And then a few days later, I wrote, I love my fearlessness. So there's no rules about this, but this is what I would love for you to try. Get a little notebook. It's your own private little notebook. Just start with one. Every day, write one thing that you love about yourself. Read them every day. The longer it gets, it takes a little bit longer, but you get into that routine. And I will say that it has changed things, even though I only started on the 2nd of April. So the same person that I had coffee with this week, I had coffee with her a couple of months ago. So I'd only been doing this practice for a couple of months. And she came into the coffee shop and she said, wow, have you lost weight? And I said, no, in fact, I've gained weight. And she said, but you look completely different. And that was the only thing that I had been doing. So she could see that I had changed because even as much as I have loved myself all this time, there's always room for more love. It doesn't take up any space. I had just started to write every day something I love about myself. And I've been doing it consistently, mostly. I might have missed a day or two. But this is easy. This is so easy for you. I want to tell you to practice self-love, but I also want to give you a tool to do it, right? I don't want you to just go out there and go, she said to do this, and I have no idea what to do. So here is your practice. It's dead easy. Get a little book, write down every day one thing you love about yourself, and then just let it change you. Don't go with expectation. Just go with, I'm just going to let this change me. So my friends, there's your homework. We are coming to the end of the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate you. I do. And I'll send you some hearts. Here's some hearts for you. Come back next week. Take care. I'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning into Illuminate Your Worth. Heather Stewart will be back next week to help you shift your mindset, reclaim your joy, and build a life that fits you. Catch the next episode on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific. Until then, take one inspired step today and